Hey world, welcome back to another episode of Be Inspired podcast where we're inspiring you to live the abundant life you deserve. I got another awesome guest on the line, and his name is Antonino. What if the best moments of your life didn't need alcohol to be memorable? For generations, we've connected celebration with what's in the glass: weddings, promotions, birthdays, business wins, even making it through a hard week. But what if celebration was never really about alcohol? What if it was always about the people, the connection, and the moment itself? Today, we're talking about a movement that's changing the way we celebrate, entertain, and live. Because maybe the future isn't about drinking less, maybe it's about experiencing more. So I got an awesome guest on here, Antonino, the founder of Clink Zero. Welcome to the podcast, man.
Hi, Samuel. Great to be here. Thank you. Thank you for the intro. Well done. I think that
You're
we'll have a lot
welcome.
of
You're
good
welcome.
conversation today.
So to start off, man, like Clink Zero, first non-alcoholic beverage. Could tell us a little bit about what came up of and what idea made you create that.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a long story. The creation of Clink Zero comes after a journey. So in the past 15 years, I've been working in a corporate world, working with the food and beverage industry, mostly beverage. And specifically in the last 5 years in the US, I've been working very close hands with the wine category, winemaker, but also with in general with the alcohol related work. And everything started because in the last 2 years, I don't know if you know, but the alcohol consumption is declining globally. This is a phenomenon not just in the United States, it's a global. And I would say to simplify, mainly related to two things. One is health, like we're becoming more and more health conscious, and so alcohol is perceived somewhat as negative in this context. And the second part is the newer generation are drinking less. And that's why mocktail are on hype and non-alcoholic wine, beer. So when I saw this volume decline in alcohol, I started looking for other alternatives since I was working in the industry, and I saw the growth of this non-alcoholic movement. So I went out and I started shopping a lot of brand of wine, non-alcoholic wine available. So I invited a few friends over and says, "Hey guys, this is the future. This is what's happening." Again, I love wine, but I wanted to try, and I realized the taste was very bad, to say in a good way. I love wine. I was looking for an alternative. I see there is a space for non-alcoholic wine, but when I was really disappointed. And so some of my friends says, "Oh, I will never go non-alcoholic wine." So fast forward 2 years after, I exited the company I was working with, and we were developing a new technologies for wine alcoholization. And I start trying some of the wine coming out of this technology, and they say, "This is something that I could drink." And so I said, why not making this available? Why not building a brand that to makes this quality available, not just to the sober community that are already used to drink non-alcoholic, but to the wine lover, the people that they don't even know that actually non-alcoholic wine can taste great. And so that's why I started Clink Zero.
So when did you realize it wasn't just about removing alcohol, but removing the feeling of being left out?
Yeah, again, I spend all my life, I'm a social drinker. I'm born and raised in Italy. Wine is part of kind of our culture, and also I've been moving and living in the US the last 11 years. Wine is such a big component of the way we socialize in the United States. The United States is the biggest consumer of alcohol in the world. Sorry, of wine, also of alcohol, but of wine. So it's it's really important for me. It was not about. It's never been about replacing wine with something else. Because I just feel it's more. I love the word complementarity. I think non-alcoholic wine, non-alcoholic beverage is complementary to the traditional alcoholic beverage. There is a moment for everything. I think it's more about giving people the option to not be left out. That's I don't know if it ever happened to you, but it happened to me for whatever reason. There's been a couple of moments in which I was not able to drink alcohol at celebration, and I didn't want to be the one with the glass of water while everybody's enjoying this fancy or nice prosecco champagne. And so I think with Clink Zero, is about giving everybody the option to not be left out. And that's why for me, and I close on this point. When I start Clink Zero, I want since the beginning be the most inclusive brand as possible. It's not for wine expert, it's for literally for everyone.
So if someone had told you 10 years ago that non-alcoholic wine would have become a premium category, what would you have believed? Would you have believed them?
No. If somebody would have told me the one would have been a premium category, no. If somebody would have told me that I would have started a non-alcoholic wine brand, even I will never believe that. And I think that's I don't know. It's the big discussion about evolution. And in 10 years, I am a different person than I was 10 years ago. I learned so much in these 10 years. I think today makes sense. But to answer your question, no, I would never.
Yeah, why not? You didn't believe in yourself, you didn't see it coming?
Like wine, I always consider wine as this unique kind of product that you cannot really alterate. Wine is a bit more traditional category, not much innovation, probably like in other that we see in other category. If you look the soda, we are now used to functionality, THC, CBD, prebiotic, probiotic. Wine has been always is never really followed the trend in terms of innovation. And so probably I was not ready 10 years ago to imagine that.
So tell me a little bit about like when people raise in the glass, right? What are they really celebrating? Do you feel like they're celebrating the drink or the connection?
In my view, we're always celebrating the connection. I want to say that the drink needs to be raised to the level of the moment that we want to celebrate. Obviously, if you're enjoying a glass by yourself at home and you are a wine connoisseur, kind of an expert, that's a lot about the drink, absolutely. But when we are in a social environment, at least for me, it's always about the connection. And for me, an example, is I love wine. I love sparkling wine, but I tend to choose those only when I am in a social setting. So when it's about sharing that, I like to share the glass with someone else. I'm not much of a solo drinker, but I want to also acknowledge that there are moments in which, for example, a Tuesday evening when I'm having some pizza, then maybe I would have liked the taste and then the celebratory kind of environment of a good glass of wine. But I feel like I don't want to drink alcohol or calories on a random Tuesday evening. And so I was kind of like pushing that away and maybe go for a soda or for another type of drink. I feel that the Clink Zero, but like other brand, give me the option today to enjoy what I like also in a moment when I don't want alcohol.
So, what's the biggest misconception people have about people who choose not to drink?
I think, and again, this is my learning.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's my personal. So I will take this question and apply to myself. What was the biggest? I think until you do not get closer to the non-alcoholic movement, the one misconception is that we're talking about sober or sober lifestyle, and that's not. Obviously, there are. I would say two things that I want to misconception. One is that when we're talking about non-alcoholic, we're talking about sober people or lifestyle. And first of all, it's not the case because I can drink non-alcoholic one day and the next day drinking alcohol with friends. But the second one, that's more than a misconception. It was a learning for me. So starting Clink Zero, I started interacting with talking with the people, part of the sober community, people that for any reason they stopped drinking. And I thought immediately, oh, they will love that because like non-alcoholic wine, they cannot drink alcohol, and actually opened my eyes about the fact that there is a lot of guardrail and safeguard that this community has. And so even if it's non-alcoholic, some of then the sober community people I interact with, they're still guarded when something is called wine. And it was like a breakthrough for me, thanks to the experience with Clink Zero.
So tell me a little bit about, like there's sometimes a negative connotation with wine, how people could be like wine snobs and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about your view about that and how does it relate to non-alcoholic wine?
Yeah, that's actually part of one of the things that I thought when I was working close to the wine industry and when I started Clink Zero. I think we need to be realistic here. New generation, not everybody was born like my generation. I was born around wine. I was born around learning the basic about wine. I think that we need to be aware that not all the generation are experience that this type of legacy of the wine. And so now I feel that the industry was going in a direction in which there is the some, I don't want to generalize, but the majority of the wine industry talking a language that doesn't really connect with the newer generation. And so you are, I don't know, a young Gen Z, I don't know, taking a younger generation, the United States, you have to choose if maybe with having an experience, a craft experience with a cocktail, or shopping a bottle of wine that in a certain way makes you feel like you're not really fully grasping what you're buying. And so I think the wine industry sometimes tend to speak with this kind of jargon or like a way of talking that doesn't really is understood by the younger generation. And the reason why I say that, because sometimes I like to ask questions to friends or to people that I met on the street, and I ask what make them choose their wine. And sometimes it's the label. Sometimes, like for example, I ask one of the most sold Prosecco brand in the United States, I like to ask people how it tastes like. And they cannot even know to describe the taste. They just says, I like it. I don't know what is the taste look feels. So my point is that I think that the industry as a whole has been kind of speaking a language that needs to be a bit updated to connect to the younger generation, if it makes sense. And there's also it connects with Clink Zero. We're not perfect, but the reason why I choose this name, because Clink, first of all, is kind of a name that doesn't really comes very much, doesn't make you feel about wine immediately, in the sense that clink, obviously everybody knows what is clink, but zero is almost a word taken from the soft drink space more from the wine. And that was the reason I want to create a brand that does speak everyone's language, that is accessible and can approach everyone and easy to understand. Right now, if you go to the wine aisle and you want to find a non-alcoholic, sometimes the bottle they really look the same, and it's really hard to understand what's not. So if the retailer is good and created non-alcoholic section, it's easy to understand. But sometimes they don't do that, and I really have to start looking and read all the labels. So I was trying to solve some of this problem with the name itself.
So what was the moment that creating this Clink Zero, right? There must have been a moment where you thought, all right, I'm gonna throw in the towel, like this isn't working. Have you got to that point when you was creating Clink Zero?
Like not yet in the full extent of what you're saying, because when I started Clink Zero, I approached like I want to create the right product, and so I want to validate also the demand before we go to the market. And actually, I was surprised about the opposite. I was surprised because I know how difficult when you work in the beverage industry, you know how difficult is starting a beverage brand. And I always thought my life I would have never gone down the route. It was more about, hey, I feel everybody should know that now there is a better quality, a better way to do non-alcoholic wine. So I will be the one doing it. So actually, for me, the learning was the opposite. That the category, despite it's been around for a few years, there is still so much interested about it. And so when I talk with the people or friends or in the circle of friends or network, I always think, okay, they will tell me, go away. I don't want to talk about non-alcoholic. Instead, I'm realizing so many people are already comfortable with with that. So I would say there is not being yet that this is not gonna work learning. It's more about the general challenge when you launch in a new beverage brand is that I know my product, everything is clear in my mind, but make sure that you convey these things to general public. I want to say your word. It's very difficult. It's very very difficult. So we are still on the way to get there, and I hope it will work.
So you mentioned something very important because you talked about a little bit about checking to see what the market wanted before going into it. What gave you that insight to go ahead before you create the product to make sure it's something that being wanted? Because as new entrepreneurs, we try to create stuff and think everybody needs it, but we don't do the back end. So what are some things you did on the back end to check to see if the market really wanted this product?
Well, there is and again, this comes to my experience. The before moving to sales, I spent many years working in product development for different companies from automotive, agriculture, packaging. And so when you work in product development, it's all about developing product. And so you go through this requirement list, okay? And there were two moments that shape my approach to this in this way. One is that we were big company, so we know what we were doing, and we spent so much resources and energy to develop a specific feature of the product, and it was really millions to develop a feature. When we went to the market, customer they were not even recognized. It was really irrelevant, that feature itself, and so that was the first lesson for me. The second one was reading this book. I've been part of a training where I read a book about the lean startup methodology. Okay. And to make story short, but I don't want to quote wrongly the book, but my take of the book is that in a certain way you need to fail. The sooner you fail, the better it is because you learn something and you are able to pivot or to kind of change a bit the direction. And so we the way I translate so this makes so much sense for mostly for financial reason because the earlier you can cut and mitigate risk, it means that your financial exposure will be lower. And so what we've been doing with this, how I'm applying this with the Clink Zero is that we started the pre-order phase even before the official launch, and not because I want to make revenue or selling few bottle before. It's because taking the customer or prospective customer to the process of buying, it gives you so many feedback about that. I take an example. This is a very simple example. We're talking about non-alcoholic, okay? So it will at the beginning. I thought, okay, we're gonna push out the zero alcohol, okay? And after I go document it myself, and the FDA regulation, it's kind of strict on that in the sense that you cannot call zero alcohol, for example, something that is alcohol removed. You have specific boundaries, a specific way of calling. I can call non-alcoholic, alcohol removing, but I cannot say no alcohol. I have to say non-alcoholic. And I was seeing some of my competitor brands doing it, just 0.0% alcohol, even if it was kind of like. And so I had a talk with one of our one comment on Instagram on our profile, and the person immediately, we were still at the prototype phase, we were not out in the market, and somebody says, "Oh, you cannot really say it's zero alcohol because it's not alcoholic." And for me, that was a very aha moment because I says, "He's right. We need to update. We learn. Like, imagine if I would have done that after all our label were produced, all our marketing was out there. So I learned something." And I forced to learn something from one of our followers, even before making a large investment and have to reprint everything. So that's for me. That's just one example of the so many things you can learn when you do a limited release. And again, the software industry, they know this better than me because it's kind of more common there with beta release and but when you, I would say, it's a recommendation for any entrepreneur that wants to launch any product that is a physical product that will require some sort of development or creation. Just go small, trying to get as many feedback as possible from the market, because most probably your final product would is not necessarily will be the one you started with.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I like that. Just go out there and set yourself up, market. do like little things to pre-orders like you did in order for you to know what your market want, know if the product is like, get feedback so you know what to do before you go live. And I like what you did because I think you gave away like a ticket
Yeah.
for the US the FIFA, the World Cup. So how did that go for you and what was that experience like?
It was like we're an emerging brand, so I still we're still a small team, so it's not really. So it was the true story is that I had this ticket for going to watch the match, and at a certain point I know that I will not be able to make it because some other thing changed. And I thought for me it was a kind of I start seeing my early customer as more like kind of a family or some extended friends, people that I know. And I was saying instead of selling this ticket and making some good money because we're pretty hot. It was a round of 32 one. I just says why not give it away to the people that at the end of the day, like if you think about it, a customer that is placing a pre-order is trusting me and my product even before the product exists. Like they are having such a big leap of faith on me that it felt the right things to do to give it away. Also, by the way, I learned also how to run these things because some people call me out on other things. Somebody get upset because they said that I'm part of this big corporation stealing the taking so many tickets. And it's like this is my personal ticket. It was just one. It was not some sort of like planned things, but it was fantastic because we had so many people reaching out, connecting through the social media, participate to this draw. And after I took a video with a kind of live draw, and the person that ultimate win was extremely happy. It was like a lifelong dream. I had few of them that was kind of like I felt bad because a couple of people told me that's a dream of my life, and so was happy that the person that ultimate win was also not only just a supporter of Clink Zero, but I was also a person that I know will be enjoying extremely that experience,
Yeah.
and that would make me happy.
That's awesome, man. That's good. That's good marketing. It's good that you took something that was kind of like a setback for you because of whatever reason and make it into a moment where you could have market, where you could have connect with people and give your brand the promotion that it needed to get to where you wanted to go, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's anyway. It turned out a win-win, and people love. I realize people loves giveaway or like this type of. So I hope I already thinking what I could do next because actually was a big push for our brand.
What was the turnout for you? Did you get a lot of traction? How did it turn out?
I would say that we get some good amount of pre-order, but I think it was not really the biggest result. The biggest results was we get a lot of people tagging other people, and mostly also some personal message I received that show me that there was it gave me an opportunity to open a channel of communication with some, and so from there be able to talk about Clink Zero. When I Samuel, I think that one of the biggest the biggest challenges for me, and again I've been corporate for many years, so I know that it's a challenge for big brand. But when you launch a brand, your messaging or your value proposition, whatever you think makes your product unique, it's so clear for you, but transfer this to general public is extremely difficult. And that's why I've launched other brand in the past. When I do pop up, when I put myself in front of other people, I'm able to convey that very well. But when you go through a website or through an email, it's more difficult. That's why podcast for me it's also a fantastic way because it gives a bit more time to explain.
Yeah. Okay. What's one tradition around alcohol or wine worth keeping and one worth rethinking?
Talking about me, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
A tradition about wine that worth keeping. Okay, I start from the second, rethinking it. Usually, I I tend to with my pizza, I tend to like soda. Okay, and until I discovered sparkling red wine, that changed my personal tradition to now enjoy that. And that's why also we put in the timeline also the launch of our sparkling red non-alcoholic, because I think it could have a great opportunity for this type of meal, like a pizza with friends, things like that. World tradition keep taking sparkling wine. I don't care if it's prosecco, cava, champagne, or even non-alcoholic, to celebrate the important things in life. Like recently, a friend of mine um, gave a birth, and I don't care if you're drinking or not. Okay, I need to pop a bottle to celebrate that moment. And so for me, it's still something that I don't know. There is something magic and something like I'm selected that moment that I want to make sure that for me a bottle still represents a celebration, and and for me it's something that it's I want to keep in my life.
So, if the next generation celebrates differently than we did, what do you hope would change?
The would won't change, you say?
Would change.
I think people talking a bit more. Like I think that I have I have an 18 months old son, and I keep thinking what his life will be. Will people still talk to each other? Or will be all done through AI and social media and things like that? So I think that something that I hope for the future is that I connect more with my childhood, is that we were spending more time together. Like, and I hope that we will go again toward that direction, because I think it was very formative, at least for me.
Yeah, because now we're like bogged down with screens and screen time. Like, we're no longer like connecting with each other as much. It used to be like the village raising the child. So
Yeah.
now it's like more of technology raising the child kind of thing going on.
I used to do way more things like that nowadays will be considered kind of strange, like playing soccer in the middle of a big city. Like, but with my friends of the neighborhood, it was kind of normal things. I see that now my nephews, they're doing less than what I used to do. So I'm trying to be. It's still early. My son is young, but this is something I will try to be as mindful as possible to make sure to give to him.
So, what got two more questions for you, Antonino. One is, what is something that you thought I would ask, but I didn't really quite ask you?
In terms of a question, correct? Like I don't know. I've been to few of these podcasts because for many reasons, promote Clink Zero, but also because I really enjoy it. Okay, sharing, and actually also been asked kind of a strange question, or a very. I've been asked multiple times, like about leaving the corporate world for the starting a young that nobody knows brands, and so you didn't ask that, and kind of I'm happy to answer, but also I feel that it's kind of the easy answer, the easy question. Like if one place is more value than the other, almost. And anyway, you didn't ask, so I just noticed. So that's one question that I probably I was expecting.
So, what would you say to that question?
That I, I don't know. For me, it was way. It's difficult in itself because you need to reinvent yourself. Imagine you have a value somewhere and you need to recreate that value. But at the same time, it's kind of like it felt natural to me. In the sense, it's more kind of following. Sorry, something that has been on my mind for a while. And and again, I don't believe in closing door. One door doesn't close the other. I believe more in a fluid approach. And Antonino in 2026 is taking his experience to develop and launch Clink Zero. Hopefully, we will be extremely successful, and this will become my life project. But I'm open to any option to pivoting. Right now I know that whatever I pick to do will be corporate or Clink Zero. It will get 100% of myself and all my passion. So right now it's where I'm extremely focused to succeed.
Yeah. What's the cost of going all in on your dreams?
It's a balance. You know what I mean? Like obviously, that's when you're an emerging startup brand, you're financing your business because you're not really getting and I think that's the biggest act of courage because you know many ideas I had, and after when it's time to finance, you see like, "Oh, I'm not sure I want to finance that idea." So if you don't want to put your own money, it might be telling you something about the idea itself. And so there is some courage there. Obviously, there is in my specific case, I have made sure my family was behind that because you will go from having a paycheck every 2 weeks to basically not having a paycheck. So it's a cost in the sense of way that the uncertainty around that. But the gain on the other side, on the other cost, I would say that I thought at the beginning I would be more free. I would be less like my brain will be more free than running a large organization for a corporate in the corporate world. And from one side, you're even more busy because it's kind of like your brain is on and on 24/7. I have to now train myself to turn it off at a certain point at night or to not bring the computer to basically work around the clock. But on the other side, you gain on the flexibility. So maybe you work a bit, you work more, or your brain is more busy, but at the same time, you have more flexibility that if I have to take my kid to school or to a park, I can do it without kind of justify the need of justifying your choices. So again, as everything in life, there is nothing perfect and it's more a trade-off of things.
So my last question for you is a two-part question, right? Imagine someone listening is celebrating a major milestone tonight. They're wondering whether they feel awkward choosing a non-alcoholic option. What would you want them to remember before they raise their glass?
That's I don't think is if that's the truth. If you want to organize a major event, suppose it's your own wedding, suppose it's your graduation, or you're just a planner, and so you for a client, the only thing you care is that your guest will remember your event, that everybody will be happy, that you will have a great time. So having a good option of a non-alcoholic sparkling wine. So, and that explains something about us. We made a bottle that looks like a champagne style because I want something that will stand great at the major event. So for me, giving that non-alcoholic option is just a good quality. So is actually a way to make your event even more memorable because sure, like there will be for sure people that will not drink. Like it's natural. So now they don't have to ask anymore what I'm drinking. Question they know that at your wedding or your event they had this fantastic non-alcoholic. You will look like the fantastic host that thought about everything. That you have the secret card in your pocket. Everybody will remember that. Hopefully Clink Zero will get also more customer out of that. So I think it's a fantastic win-win-win-win-win. You're not compromising your event, you're elevating it.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Antonino. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and tuning in and sharing your company with us. Look forward to much more of Clink Zero being in stores. Where can people find Clink Zero? Have you started launching yet? Where are they in stores? When are you going to be in stores?
So right now we are only direct to consumer through our website, clinkzero.com. We are still extending the pre-order phase that will just is the lowest price ever, so big discount. We are start delivering in the first week of September to our customer. And so that's still the best phase. I can foreseeing in future to also trying to go in the store, but again, lean startup. I want to first make sure that I know my customer, that people are happy, getting the feedback before expanding there. But right now, I think the website, if I have to say, is the best way. And I will tell to everybody, even if you don't want to buy, just go on the website, leave your email because this is where we keep update about the new product release, like the rosette, the red. We have also a can version coming up. So that would be what I will say to everybody that's interested. And Samuel, thank you very much for having me at the show. I really enjoyed your questions and the chat with you.
You're welcome. And then, is it global? Can you get it if you're in America? Can you get it if you're overseas? Where are you shipping so far?
Yeah, right now, good question. We are shipping only in the US and Canada. One of my things I don't talk much about that now. I'm realizing it is that our product different from many. The if you look the non-alcoholic wine brand, the majority of them, there are also some local. They are all imported, or the majority of that. And I came to this. There was also a moment in which I have to decide if import from other country or not. But we have amazing wine in the United States, and so I decided our product is 100% made in US with US wine. And so right now to start, because I need to be focused on one market. We're shipping only to US and also Canada because in a certain way, I also know a bit that market. They are very close to each other. I think that I have the bandwidth to follow these two. So to start, we're doing again, US and Canada. And again, US is the biggest wine drinker in the world. So I'm already starting from the biggest market in the world. So we have plenty of work to do with the American people.
Awesome. So thank you, Antonino. And I look forward to seeing you succeed and seeing how your company grows over the next few years. All right.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. So I want to thank everybody for watching and tuning in to Be Inspired Podcast, where we're inspiring you to live the abundant life you deserve. If you like this episode, if Antonino said something you like, go ahead and let's have a conversation in the comment. And if you like, his link is also going to be there. Go ahead and support Clink Zero to get your non-alcoholic wine. All right. Have a good day. Peace out. Be safe.
Thank you.